Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om. The vision of Sanatana Dharma is one that is very grand and it is all-encompassing. So the rishis also gave a very structured way of life, way of living, so that one actualizes this grand vision. So that's why they very closely and keenly observed human mind, human life, and then gave this structure of 4 ashramas, 4 stages of life, or 4 stages of growth, in fact. So, as you all very well know, the first stage of life is brahmacharya, where one is dedicated to oneself and to the study. And even in today's world, until one becomes a graduate or a postgraduate, the world just revolves around himself or herself for that youngster. And then that's how it is supposed to be. And there's some amount of growth in it. Then the person enters grihastha. And grihastha is not just about oneself. It's not a carefree life. Grihastha's life is full of duties and responsibilities towards oneself and the family and the society. So there is some more expansion, there is some more growth. Then one enters the stage of vanaprastha. Still, one is with duties, even though one may go to forest or in today's equivalent, Nana Nani resort or a retirement home. Even then, there is expansion, because even if you could be in forest and a hermit, you are in service of a lot of sages or sannyasis who are in the forest in previous time. And also there's an expansion, again, growth of life to accommodate even plants and animals equally as part of your day-to-day life. And finally, the entire circumference of me and mine, and then a small circle, that circumference itself is broken. And then one is in tune and one becomes equally available to the society, family, friends, plants, animals, and whatever. So that is the sannyasa. So in fact, from one perspective, if you look at it, it seems like a way of life or stages of life. In fact, this is not so much to do with external stage of life, which slot do you belong to. It's not only about that. Really speaking, it is the inner disposition. So one ought to be a sannyasi in one's inner disposition. So that is the vision of the Shastra. And this Ashtavakra Gita or the Shastra or Vedanta is really for a inner sannyasi, one who has that attitude of sannyasa as internal disposition. So that freedom from relative freedom, if it may not be absolute freedom to start with, so relative freedom from I and mine. So that's how one has to evolve and grow in life in order to fully appreciate the vision of Shastra, the vision of Ashtavakra Gita. So who can appreciate this vision of oneness, this grand vision of unity, oneness, which is spoken in Ashtavakra Gita? So it is a person who's relatively free from I and mine, me and mine. So that person alone can appreciate. So that is that is how Shastra looks at it. And in order to come to that, association with the Shastra, association with the Guru is very much important. The very fact that a great king like Janaka is approaching Ashtavakra shows the need and role of a guide, a teacher in this whole journey. So why I said this 4 stages of life is also because Ashtavakra Gita is a very unique conversation between a Grihastha student and a Rishi, a sannyasi equivalent. So often there is this attitude that no, if one is a Grihastha, one cannot be free of me and mine. Now, Janaka is the classic and the famous example to show that this vision is a possibility. To be free, to relatively be free from me and mine is a possibility. And Janaka shows us that in Ashtavakra Gita. And Janaka is in this level of maturity, and he approaches Ashtavakra, Sage Ashtavakra, with these profound questions, and that's why this kind of a conversation becomes possible, where the Guru is of a high caliber and the Shishya, Janaka, is also of equally high caliber. And then Janaka, now the overview and few verses from 20th chapter that we are going to see shows that Janaka comes out of this series of teaching that his Guru gave as a Jnani. He comes out as a Mahatma. He stands equal with Ashtavakra in terms of his understanding, in terms of his absorption and absorption of knowledge. So one signature that Ashtavakra leaves in Ashtavakra Gita is from first chapter until 20th chapter, Ashtavakra shows that the entire world that we are having in our perception, different opinions that we have about the world, and different attitude we have of the world, our regular person's attitude, regular person's understanding about the world is faulty. Is that the person is at fault because his vision, his thinking is faulty. So Janaka is told from first chapter onwards that have no special place for this world. The world is an illusion. A world is mithya. And try and understand the adhara. So what is this entire illusion standing on? Seek to know that. Seek to know that. So that has been one constant instruction of Ashtavakra to Janaka. There's one interesting story. Once there was a king, and he was a very good ruler, and he always had these profound questions. Where did this world come from? Who created the world? And what is that which sustains the world? And they say that the world also goes to Laya. And what is that which takes the world to Laya? Destruction or unmanifest form. What is that? So this king always used to have these profound questions. So once a magician comes to his kingdom, and then sends a word to the king that he has come here to specially perform for the king. So the king thought maybe he's trying to do all this to impress the king and get some dakshina, get some reward, get some award. But then the magician sends another word that is purely come here to perform for the king. He wants to show his great magic to the king. That's why he has come here. So now the king invites him to the court. And then suddenly this magician starts performing. He has the birds flying out of nowhere. He has showers of flowers coming from nowhere. And then he's creating so many great things and bringing out all of them from nowhere. And for a moment, he puts a certain spell on the king, that the king is shaken now. The king is shaken. Immediately, the ministers and other associates of the king are alarmed, and then they go towards the king. And within a jiffy, within a fraction of a moment, the king is back to his senses. The king is back. So the king says, "Oh magician, thanks to you, you are like my guru now, because all these profound questions that I used to have in my mind, I found answers to all of them." So the ministers ask the king, "So what happened?" The king says, in just that fraction of the second, I was totally as if in another world. I was away from my kingdom. I was running from the enemies. And then I was so thirsty. And then I met some villager who demanded that I part with half my kingdom if I want water and some food. So finally I had to do that, and all of that, and I was running. Again, I fell down, and one moment I was back here. I recognized that I was in a different realm of imagination, and I'm back to this world. So when the king says, so an entire world was created, an entire world was sustained for some time, and that entire reality, what I thought as reality, is destroyed in another second. So I got to know now that, really speaking, my mind is that factor which creates the world, which sustains the world, and it takes back the world. Jagrat, Swapna, you want to put it in one category, and for the sake of understanding, and the same Jagrat and Swapna, which is created by the world, is taken in also during the deep sleep. So Ashtavakra, throughout his Gita, he's approaching the entire Jagat only from this standpoint. In fact, till you reach the summit of the mountain, everything is a perspective. You look around, it's a perspective. You look left, you look right, you look here and there, it's all a perspective. So once you climb on top of the mountain and sit on the summit, then alone you have clear vision of what is. Until then, it's all a perspective. You all must have heard the famous story of 9 blind people touching the elephant and comparing it to different objects. One touches the legs of the elephant and he says, "Oh, this must be some big pillar of a temple." The another person touches the skin back and he says, "Oh, this is a wall of the fort." So like that, everybody has a perspective. So Ashtavakra is sitting on top of the mountain peak and then seeing everything very clearly, and the same vision is given to Janaka. So you see in the story, you must, or from this small illustration, we must appreciate one thing. The mind not only creates, so it also gives an illusion that it is all outside. It is all outside of you. Everything that you experience, everything that you go through, the mind also plays another trick. So what is that trick? So it always seems to you that it is all outside of you. It is all outside of you. So that's the trick that the mind plays. So one has to recognize this trick of mind. So with what power that this mind creates? So with the power of Maya, with the power of Ajnana. So that is the power with which this mind creates, sustains, and takes back the illusion called the world. Illusion called the world. A Jnani doesn't come under the sway of this illusion. He recognizes what is the basis of this illusion. What is that base? What is that foundation on which this entire illusion is sustained? Just as Vyomavata, just as in space, everything else is, everything else is, just like that, in this Sachidananda Swarupa, which is one's own Atma, that is the one which is lending its existence, light to all the Namarupas. Rest of it are all Namarupas. And really speaking, one has to recognize this awareness which is ever present as the Sakshi of all three avasthas. I am that. That recognition is what Ashtavakra is aiming in and through his entire Gita, his entire song. So, in fact, if you look at the basic search or basic quest of humanity, one is searching for happiness and security. One is searching for happiness and security. So definitely Vedanta and Ashtavakra Gita is for somebody who has recognized that this happiness and security cannot be found in the objects of the world. And where do I find it? So in myself. Okay, where is it? Puja Swami used to joke. It is within you. So where is it within you? Is it in kidney? Is it in lungs? Where is it? So even if we use the expression, it is within us, it is within you, it is to indicate saying that it is there, it is found in recognition of your own Swarupa, which is but Ananda, which is but freedom, which is but security. So this is what is the hallmark of the mumukshu or a jignasu who understands that my search is over now. All this time I was searching for the essentials in non-essential things, or for essentials called happiness and security in the places where I cannot ever find it. I cannot find it at all. I cannot find milk in a shoe or slipper shop. So that is the Viveka. That is the, really speaking, that is the Viveka. So this Ashtavakra, in the very opening verse of this first chapter, very beautifully says, when Janaka asks, so what do I need to do? What is Vairagya? How do I approach moksha? So immediately he says, Mukti michchati chetata vishayan vishavat tyaja kshamarjava dayatosha satyam piyusha vadvacha. And in different chapters, the same theme is again repeated by Ashtavakra. So I'll just give you a gist to approach this entire set of maybe more than 50 verses in the entire different chapter, how to really appreciate it. So you see, there are two approaches which generally a person follows in order to acquire this security and happiness and security. So what is the first option available? Pravritti marga. So the person goes towards the objects. And in fact, in Ashtavakra Gita, the place is not at all given that the Vishayas, or the objects, can give some happiness. But if you look into other texts, they take another standpoint to show us that, yes, of course, some happiness is there in the objects, some security seem to be there in the objects, but they are not permanent. Again, that condition is never missed in Vedanta, because all Vedantas are presenting the same vision. It is not permanent, it is impermanent. And another thing is to be recognized that no doubt what can be source of pleasure, what can be a source of happiness, in terms of really speaking, it's pleasure. What can be a source of pleasure will definitely be also a source of pain. Always, that also is a source of pain. So those who are following the Pravritti Marga must understand this truth, this thing about the world. Whatever has the ability to give me some pleasure, whatever has some ability to give me some temporary security or happiness, the same very object or person or situation has the ability to give me pain also. So if you're pursuing pleasure in the world, pain is also inevitable. It is not optional. It is inevitable. It's an inevitable factor that one needs to recognize. But all the people in the Pravritti Marga, not the students of Vedanta, general Pravritti Marga, whoever is in the Pravritti Marga, they do not know this truth. They do not recognize this truth, that pain also comes. So that's why they always have a sankalpa. What is that? Only this has to happen. Because in my mind, in my head, I have structured that if these things, if these factors happen, then alone there is pleasure, then alone there is happiness. So I need to get this alone. Sankalpa, all the time they're seeking one. This alone should be there. It is not the real one. They are stuck with the artificial one. What is the artificial one? The real one is the Atma Chaitanya, one without a second. This artificial thing is the ego and the sankalpa that comes out of the ego. This alone has to happen. This alone has to happen. But in fact, life doesn't work just with sankalpas. Life is equally full of vikalpa. Vikalpa means what? Options. You think this is the way it has to happen, but there are 9 options or 10 possibilities. Vikalpa can be translated as option or possibility. In fact, there are 9 or 10 other ways it is likely to happen, and that is what is going to happen. So person is stuck with this artificial one. So one who is stuck with an artificial one is always unhappy. One who is stuck with the one is always unhappy. How do you know? See, a person who's stuck with a husband or wife, only one spouse. So all the time that person is unhappy. No, we are not recommending any alternate lifestyle. But a matured person knows that life doesn't work like that. There are always vikalpas, 100 possible ways in which it can operate. So that person is okay with anything. So the majority of the people are approaching happiness with pravritti marga. That means what? Some pleasure, temporary pleasure and happiness and security is there in the objects of the world. So I go on acquiring it. But those people do not realize that those objects acquire them eventually. The object, situations and people acquire them. The person is no more free. The person is slave with reference to his senses. Person is slave with reference to objects, people and situation. Now, superficially, some people enter spiritual life and then they try to follow the Nivritti Marga. Nivritti Marga is followed. Why? Now this person is slightly matured than this big lot. And what is that maturity? And what is that maturity stemming from? That maturity is stemming from this understanding that If I pursue pleasure, pain is also inevitable. If I pursue pleasure, pain also is going to come. It's like the other side of the coin. So now I am going to give up the pursuit of pleasure altogether. The pursuit of pleasure altogether. So brahmacharya, in terms of a seeker going into an ashram, or vanaprastha, a grihastha coming out of the grihastha ashrama, or those people who think that the solution is in Himalayas, they leave everything and go there, or they leave everything and go to ashrams. Why? Because now they have recognized, if I am in the pravritti marga, something or the other I have to keep on pursuing. That's how world works. But with that, I will also keep on getting pain. I do not want pain. What I am seeking is happiness. At least let me be free from pain. So in order to be free from pain, so he or she recognizes now I have to give up the pursuit of the pleasure also. Pursuit of the pleasure also. So there is no pursuit of pleasure. That's why there is no pain. There is no pain in this nivritti marga. So lifestyle of a sannyasi marga, no seeking of pleasure. But then, so that's why there's no pain also at the relative level. There's no pain, pleasure at the relative level. But you see, mind doesn't really work like that. Now you have given up the pursuit of the pleasure. That's why there is no pain also. But then now there is vacuum. Now there is inner vacuum. At least grihastha, or a person in the pravritti marga, he or she has pain, kabhi kushi, kabhi gham, both of it that person has. Now this person who wants to be in nivritti marga, like want to follow a safe approach, now this person's mind is empty. Now the neither pain or pleasure. So aneka janma samprapta, bhaya, depression, all of it now they can come out. Or all the vasanas sitting there inside, all the vasanas sitting inside, all the tendencies are still there. The person may not be externally seeking pain or seeking pleasure in the outside world, but all the time the person is contemplating on sense objects inside. That's a possibility. And that's what is likely to happen if the person doesn't come in association with a right guru, right Mahatma, a correct guru. The person's mind and heart is empty now and full of all these tendencies. So this kind of a nivritti marga doesn't work. Simply leaving family and thinking that it's obvious family will definitely bring some pleasure and also some painful situations also. One wants to escape that. So some people leave family and come to Rishikesh, this and that. Looks like it works. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because inner void is there, all the tendencies are sitting. Sri Krishna says in one verse of Gita, very beautifully he explains, third chapter. Just let me look at it. Give me a minute. Third chapter, fourth verse. Na karmana manarambhan naishkarmyam purushošnute na cha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati. So by being tricky, that okay, now I recognize that if I undertake pravritti, that gives some pain also. So I will not do any pravritti. I will not do the arambha of any karma. So by this, I will gain a state of actionlessness because I'm not desiring for anything. I'm not desiring for any pleasure, so I'm avoiding all pains. So if one were to think like that, so Sri Krishna says that kind of a person cannot attain success. That kind of person, success, siddhi here means moksha. That kind of a person will never gain Naishkarmya siddhi. That person will never gain moksha, because he has not fundamentally addressed. Okay, one level of viveka is fine, but then that inner void goes when, again, Krishna says in the second chapter, param drishtva nivartate. All the vasanas, tendencies may still be there. Only outside, externally, the lifestyle you might have changed. So you are in a safe space, seeking no pleasure, so relatively no pain. But then the inner void, all the inner samskaras, the inner tendencies go away only when param drishtva. Only if you come in association with the right guru, right acharya, right teacher, only then the problem of samsara can be inquired upon in the light of Shastra, and the ignorance can be given up. Then alone one gains moksha. One recognizes that I am free. So why this discussion here? Because often you may remember or recollect, if you can remember, in many chapters, that too towards the end chapters, Ashtavakra is always telling that no pravritti, no nivritti. Why should I seek something? Why should I not seek something? So he is indicating something which transcends both pravritti and nivritti. He says that. He's telling, I am that which is beyond pravritti and nivritti. I have recognized that which transcends pravritti and nivritti. All this while we were thinking that there is only two marga, pravritti and nivritti marga. Yes, pravritti and nivritti marga. Now I pointed out what are the factors that have to be kept in mind even in nivritti marga. But Ashtavakra is seated above both of it. No pravritti also, no nivritti also. That means what? He's not going seeking pleasure, seeking happiness and pleasure from the world at all, from the world at all, nor he's trying to escape the world. Nivritti is what? In general sense speaking, escaping trying to be escaping the world. And see, many grihasthas, many people in the society very well understand it. Suppose a person is going to some ashram. Hey, why are you escaping life? Don't escape life. Somebody is going into sannyas at a young age. So this is all escapism. Many skeptics are there in the society. They may not deeply understand the religious significance of our way of living. So they immediately say that you're escaping the world. In fact, there is some truth to it. They do have some understanding. They do seem to have some understanding. They may not have, but now I suppose I have conveyed what I was trying to convey to keenly know a few things about the Nivritti Marga also. So when Ashtavakra says that for me, there is neither Pravritti, there is neither Nivritti, Swasmin avaste stitaha, I am abiding in my own true nature. That means what? He has transcended both of it. There's no need for it. And Janaka is the perfect example for it. Has he escaped the world? No. He's very much in the society. So is he in Pravritti Marga? Is he seeking this and that? No. But Swamiji, he is ruling the kingdom. Isn't that Pravritti? Yeah, only from your standpoint. But Janaka is living a spontaneous living, not based. It is that spontaneous living is not based on ragadveshas. So ragadveshas is the fuel for the pravritti marga. And again, the same ragadvesha is all escape. I mean, handling the ragadvesha. One wants to handle the ragadvesha. That's why that is also the fuel for nivritti marga. So Janaka is beyond both pravritti and nivritti. So wherever Ashtavakra says this aspect, you must understand in this light. So, and then this entire transformation of Janaka as a Jnani has happened because of his association with Ashtavakra. That association is in the context of teaching, and that transforms the person. Because what does that Jnani have? What does that Jnani have? That Jnani has all the things that money cannot buy. That is a Jnani. So who is a Jnani? Another way of defining Jnani. Jnani is that person who has everything that money cannot buy. So that is a Jnani. In simple words, that is a Jnani. The very association with a Mahatma, a very association with a Acharya transforms the person. So that is what we have to observe in Ashtavakra Gita. That is one factor we have to very closely observe in Ashtavakra Gita. Now let us look at a few verses from the 20th chapter. All of those verses in the 20th chapter, 19th and 20th chapter, they are almost set in the same tune. They are set in the same tune. They are conveying the same message. Let us look at a few. In fact, again, the interesting fact about this chapter is that Janaka Uvacha. Now the Janaka is again, he has shared his understanding, he has shared his sthiti with his teacher. Now again, Janaka is sharing that that inner joy, and what is that place he's abiding in. He's not abiding in the world at all, because the world is just Nama Rupa. So he is abiding in the basis of that entire Nama Rupa, the basis of the entire Nama Rupa. So that is where the Jnani stays. That is how the Jnani operates in the world. Because if you were to compare the world to a snake, the fangs of the snake is taken out when in the context of a snake charmer. So it's not a very nice example. So much pain is inflicted upon the snake. It's not a good thing, but just as an example. So just as an example, once you have removed the teeth from the snake, that snake becomes a playful thing. You have taken that snake is played with. Tricks are played with that snake. That snake is handled in all the ways which was not a possibility at all when that snake had that venomous fangs. So that is the drishtikona of a Jnani towards the world. Suppose the world is like a snake. Once you remove the ahankara, mamakara from the world and from your attitude towards the world, and also you understand the world is mithya, so satyatvam, the satyatva buddhi in the world is taken away. Just like the teeth of the snake, that I considered the world alone to be the real. No, I understand it's Nama Rupa. The reality is something else. And what is that reality? That light of consciousness, that light of awareness in which I am seeing the entire world. That alone is the real. So in this understanding, the world becomes a playground. That's what, in other words, in Vedanta scriptures itself, the world is looked upon as a leela, as a joyful sport. So there's nothing to complain, something keeps on happening in the world, and that's how we deal with it. So 20th chapter, first verse, Janaka Uvacha, Kva bhutani kva dehaha, Kva bhutani kva deho va, Kvendriyani kva vamanaha, Kva shunyam kva cha nairashyam, Matswarupe niranjane, Matswarupe niranjane. So, very beautiful way of putting the verse. So, in me, who is of the nature of niranjana, without any attributes. I am that Atma Chaitanya which nothing can touch. nothing can touch. In me, for me, where are the great elements? Where is the body? Where is the body means where is the sense of body alone is the real. I am the body. Where is that sense? For me, there's no, that sense is not there. And then there are great 5 Panchamahabhutas, and one is always seeking something or the other in Panchamahabhutas. We really don't look at it as Panchamahabhutas. So even in our religious context, the Panchamahabhutas, which are divine manifestations, we don't look at it as Pujaniya Bhava. We only look at it as how much more of Panchamahabhutas can I acquire. So space also we want to acquire. All the time we want to acquire space. So COVID period, everybody wanted to acquire fresh air also, oxygen also we wanted to acquire. And then the way pollution is going, so we want to keep on like gas cylinders, LPG cylinders we order. Maybe a time will come very soon where we will also have to order oxygen cylinders every month, and then that will be given some centralized air conditioning system, and then we'll keep on breathing, I suppose. So that day is not very far. So we acquire Vayu also. We want to acquire Agni. So we want to acquire Jalam in our water tanks and sumps and water bottles and whatnot all the time. So something or the other, keep on acquiring. And that holding on, hoarding, acquiring, and being insecure about all of it is stemming from the basic ajnana that I am apurnaha. I am apurnaha. Now here is a jnani, Janaka, has recognized that aham purnaha, purnoham. I lack nothing. Body lacks. Mind has some lack. The senses lack so much power. Our senses are nothing compared to the sense organs of a dog or a cheetah. Our senses are nothing. So there is a lack in the sense organ. So there is lack in intellect, power of intellect. The power that is put in a computer by adding 100 or 10,000 intellects, that is not in my individual intellect. So that is also lacking. So Anandamaya, all the time I am Dukhi, I am lacking that also. From that sense, from that standpoint, I lack everything. So I'm always seeking to hold on to all the Panchamahabhutas, Deha, other Dehas, not only this Deha, other Dehas we want to hold on to. So all of it is there. And Janaka is saying this question, saying rhetorically, so he's kind of asking this, that aham purnaha, aham niranjanaha. I have recognized that I am purnaha, I lack nothing. Apurnamanam. So I am like that ocean. I am purnaha. Whether rivers come into this ocean or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If the rivers are coming in, the ocean doesn't say that I am purnaha, do not come, do not come. No, it doesn't say. So agate swagatam kuryat. So jnani, if anything comes inside, he does swagata. People come, swagata. Situations come, swagata. Good situations come, swagata. Bad situations come, swagata. Good food comes, swagata. Diet food comes, swagatam. Bad food comes, swagatam. So everything swagatam. Agate swagatam kuryat. So nirgate bhayam nasti. Suppose something leaves, no bhaya. Somebody was coming to the class, the person is not coming, no bhaya. Somebody was talking to the Swami very well. The person now no more wants the association, no bhaya, no problem. Something is offered to the Swami. Okay. Swagatam. Something is not offered, no problem. So that is the disposition of a inner sannyasi. May not be the disposition of a external sannyasi who's wearing a particular color cloth. May or may not be. This is the inner disposition of a Mahatma, of a Jnani, one who has recognized this truth. That person can be a king, that person may be a business owner, that person may be an industrialist, that person may be a humble householder, that person may be a active homemaker, that person can be anything in terms of external roles. It doesn't matter. So that is what Ashtavakra is telling, that none of it are for me. None of it are for me because I am the witness of all of it. I am the witness of the Deha, I am witness of the sense objects, sense pleasures, all of it. Now I recognize that I am that Atma Chaitanya, I am that consciousness alone. So entire Drishya Prapancha, Drishya means what? What is seen. I am the seer. Whatever I see, it comes and goes. It is temporary. It is not permanent. It can never give me absolute freedom, security, and happiness. You see this. You recognize yourself to be the seer, and then all the entire Drishya Prapancha is negated. Negated means what? It is badita. It is understood like as an illusion. Just as negating the movie doesn't mean that the movie disappears from the screen. You know that whatever is appearing on the screen, the movie screen, that movie is unreal. That's all. Unreal doesn't mean that it has to disappear. And many people have this understanding. Somehow they think that mithya or unreal means it should disappear. Doesn't disappear. It is there, but you understand it's badita. It is sublated. No more it has power over you. So that is what this jnanam does. So finally, Ashtavakra is now given this knowledge, and Janaka is abiding in that knowledge. You see, he uses Matswarupe Niranjane. So what is my Swarupa? So my Swarupa is the Swarupa of Drik, the Swarupa of the seer. So what does it mean? Even if you see this, seer, I am the seer, and there is seen. And there is this process of seeing. Okay, seer, seeing, seen. Seer sees the seen objects. Here also there is Triputi. Here also there is a triangle. There's a triad. Or seer, seen, division. Now, only when there is drishya, only when you are not seer all the time in that sense. Only when there is seen. Now this consciousness, which is Niranjana, without any guna, without any nama, without any rupa, is coming to our recognition as a seer. You recognize this Atma Chaitanya within as the seer. As the seer. And that is the linga. Linga means an indication. That is there. Immediately, once you use the tool of Viveka and you do the Drishya Viveka, you come to recognize that you are not the Drishya, you are the Drik. You are the seer. And now, finally, a final jump has to be done in recognizing this consciousness general. That awareness is ever present as the Sakshi of all three states. Whether you recognize yourself as a seer, as a Drik, Swarupa, Drik or not, I am ever present. And that is my true nature, pure consciousness. I am that pure consciousness. So is it available for transaction? No, that is not available for transaction. Is it available to approach in any other way? No, the only way to approach is in recognition of the seer. You recognize the seer, but understand that the seer also do not make it an individual entity. It is not some individual entity. So again, you're constraining that seer. No, it is not like that. It is the principle of consciousness. That existence which is ever present. You are. You're aware of that fact that you are. And you're conscious of that fact that you are. And is there any limit to this understanding, this recognition, this very deep feeling that you have, that you are and you're aware of that? Is there any end to it? No. The functions of mind varies. One may go to coma or different things. But this recognition that you are and aware of that is ever present. It's a consciousness, and you are that. And Janaka is saying, I am that. I'm that Niranjana. I'm seated here. I have recognized this. And that is Purnaha. I lack nothing here. I am Purnaha. It's a very beautiful Upanishad Vakya. Kimichan kasya kimichan kasya kamaya cha. Kimichan kasya kamaya cha. So I have recognized this Purnatvam within me. So what use of these desires? Kimichan. So what shall I desire? Kasya kamaya cha. For whose purpose, for whose sake I desire? Because this ego identified self only is not there. All kamas are for the personality. The personality has so much ragadvesha. So kimichan kasya kamaya cha. So for whose sake shall I desire now? I shall have desires. So I have no desires. So nothing, seeking nothing, no escape from nothing, anything. That is the state Janaka is in. That is not really a state. Whenever we use words, sometimes there's need to explain it. It's not really a state. That's his true being. He's soaked in his own true nature. So no use of anything. So that is what he keeps on saying in other verses. Kvavidya, kvachava vidya. So for me, there is no vidya, there is no avidya also. For me, there is no bandha, there is no moksha also. Because I have recognized I was never bound. So for me, there is no bandha, there is no moksha. So there is no prarabdha, there is no janma, there is no janmantara. Because I am this birthless, deathless consciousness. So I have no sukha dukkha, I have no birth and death. Kvakarta kvachava bhokta. So for me, there is no kartrutvam, there is no bhoktrutvam. Who is a karta, who is a bhokta? So I am seated in my own swarupa. For me, none of it are there. None of it are there. So Pujya Swamiji used to joke very well. So it was a serious class. He was explaining, he was giving this vision that, what use of all this for a jnani? One who has discovered Purnatvam within. The search is over. The race is won. Without winning, the race is won. Bah! What a freedom. What a freedom. Isn't it so? There's no more race. No more race to compete with somebody in order to be more happier or anything. You may compete in business or whatever, but studies or whatever, but there's no competition to be happy or happier than somebody or anything. None of it is over. What a joy. So Swamiji was explaining all of it, and she said, so it's very simple, it's very simple. For a bald-headed person, what use of a comb? So it's like that. So you don't have kartrutva, bhoktrutva. The world has lost its ability to attract you, to pull you towards it and make you stuck, make you undergo 100 different cycles, and finally you're squeezed and twisted, and all the energy out of you is taken out. So Jnani never lands up in that sort of a condition. So that is what Ashtavakra is telling in this chapter also. you may look into other verses of the 20th chapter. So the same thing he's approaching: kartrutva, bhoktrutva, sadhana, then sadhya. All of it he's one by one approaching, saying that now, having used every tool, having used every discipline, having followed every instruction of my guru, now I am seated on top of the mountain. I have reached the summit. I have neither pravritti, I have neither nivritti. How did I come to this understanding? In understanding my own purnatva, my own true nature, which is purnaha, like that of the ocean. I lack nothing. So, Swamiji, we were approaching Shastra from various standpoints. Yes, in Jnaneshwari, the text Jnaneshwari, the saint gives a very beautiful illustration. He says, one is recognizing camphor from the whiteness. One is calling camphor as camphor from the whiteness. One is calling the camphor, one is calling it camphor because of the smell. And another person is approaching the camphor from its texture. But whatever you may, through whatever way, prakriya or medium you may approach, but the camphorness of the camphor doesn't change at all. All these attributes are outside, superficial, but there is something called camphor. All these things are indicating it. All these things are the lakshanas of it. But camphor as such is camphor. That is what it is. So you're approaching through Sat, you're approaching through Chit, if approaching through Ananda, it is what it is. It is what it is. So they're not gunas of it, gunas of the Atma Chaitanya. So Atma Chaitanya is what it is. And for the sake of, to aid our understanding, we are approaching it from various standpoints. But finally, Ashtavakra is placing us at a very high pedestal to make us see the grand view of unity, grand view of life, that I am Purnaha and my true nature is that of consciousness. So with that, I conclude. Let us just look into the chant the last verse once. Kvachasti kvachavanasti kvasti chaikam kvachadvayam bhunatra kimuktena kinchinnottishthate mama. So Ashtavakra Janaka is saying, what more to say? There's nothing more to say. I am abiding in my own true nature. I am dwelling in my own self. So there is neither here, there is not there, there is no, I am beyond all arguments, all prakriyas. I have used every one of them and I have come to recognize my own true nature, which is Atma Chaitanya, and I am abiding in it. So with that, let us conclude Ashtavakra Gita by knowing these few fundamental truths, that never be attached, never be having any more idea about the relative existence, that is about the entire appearance of the world, the entire world. Take it at what it is. Do not look at it from the glasses of Ragadvesha. Just approach the world as it is. And by the understanding of Ashtavakra, one must grow into an understanding where one is indifferent to the world of Namarupas. You're indifferent to Namarupas now. So you grow into that understanding. You may start as a sadhana, finally abide in this as a siddhi, as a destination. So you be indifferent to the world of names and forms. When you start becoming indifferent to the world of names and forms, okay, chapati, okay, paratha, okay, fine, idli, okay, fine, dosa, okay, fine, this car, fine. That car, fine. This movie, okay, fine. That serial, okay, fine. This person, fine. So this is being indifferent to the Namarupas. Okay. So what? Okay. Then if you have this first ability, then you move into, you grow into this where you are indifferent to your experiences with the Namarupas. The sense organs come in contact with the Namarupas, and then you have the sensory experience, all the experiences that you go through, emotional experiences that you go through in your life. Now you become indifferent to that. You have the ability to be indifferent to all the emotions that are caused because of this associating with these names and forms. Then if you have arrived at that, now you become indifferent to the experiencer. So the relative experiencer, the ego. You become indifferent to this experiencer, the ego here at this stage. No, there is you have a strong identification as a person. You are so and so, and this person is undergoing all these experiences, and this person is the experiencer. There's an entity, false entity sitting. So you become indifferent to this ego also. So from deha, sense organs, manomaya, vijnanamaya, anandamaya, you become indifferent until this level. Then you listen to the Shastra, you use the Mahavakyas, you recognize your true nature, which is the nature of the experiencer, that I am that consciousness. So that recognition brings the fulfillment to this entire journey of Vedanta. So with that, I conclude the last chapter of Ashtavakra, and the last class of Ashtavakra Gita. We will start another text soon. So it was a nice journey with all of you, those who have been attending Ashtavakra Gita from maybe a couple of years now. So this comes to an end here. The inquiry is always on. The fire of inquiry is always on. We will look into it in the next session. Yeah. Hari Om Tat Sat. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself.